Someone asked Einstein, if you only had an hour to solve a problem, how would you do it? He said, I'd spend 55 minutes obsessing which questions to ask and in what order. That's a great answer. Now, the first two questions are beautifully summarized by this moment. Is this actually a problem? Who says that's a problem? Question number 3 is, okay, are we sure? Once we've decided that it is a problem and we haven't solved it yet, how do we define it exactly? What do we think it is? And one of my favorite what questions is, what isn't it? This is 110 years of UFO sightings. Beings from the Andromeda Galaxy go, what is the deal with Florida? Now, the thing about a definition, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be agreed upon. Because you don't want to be 20 minutes into this and someone saying, I think it's a different problem. So I'm not that concerned about which definition you choose. Find a statement that's close enough to start with, or make one that is. Then we get into, well, why is it happening? What are all the reasons, not just one? A school near me needs to get the Wiggles to perform at the next school fete. Ask me why. Because they need to raise $40,000 in a hurry. Because they have to change the roadworks at the front of the school. Because it's only a 5-minute drop-off and it takes longer than that to drop a kid out of an urban assault vehicle. Why? And on it goes. We could go why, back to the Big Bang. Now, sometimes cause and effect is pretty easy to spot. One of my favourite Google searches is a Florida man, and then whatever comes after that. It's about cause and effect. And it's the one thing that we need to be clear about, because people get confused. Sometimes they think the effect is a cause, or they think the cause is an effect. To our world, it doesn't matter what the things are. What really matters is just which way the arrows are going. Because when we ask the question, why is it happening, would it surprise you to learn that as professional problem solvers, we've heard maybe the same 30 things over and over again? Have you ever been into one of those meetings where someone says, oh, I think the problem is leadership. I think the problem is communication. I think the problem is, isolation. Who's been to those sorts of meetings where we have a single word? I've got to say, as a problem solver, that's kind of useless. So I ask for a bit more information. I want to know, are you talking about too much, or not enough, or the wrong kind? So let me ask you, politics. Is there not enough politics? Is there the wrong kind of politics? Could there possibly be too much politics? What about time? Have you got too much time? Not enough time? Are you spending the wrong kind of time? And then it gets really fun, because we start to say, okay, go nuts. Put down everything you know about the problem. Just dump it down. I'm not even concerned about cause and effect just yet. We want to hear every answer to the question why. Why? Once we've got that, we'll start to say, okay, let's start adding time. What came first? What came second? What came last? And this will give you basically the causal order of the problem. You'll actually get to see how it became the problem it was. And you can see them picking them up and moving them around on the map. This is why we use sticky notes. And so what we do is we get people to start drawing these little sort of weather maps. Where's it coming from? Where is it going to? What's the flow of the problem? Where's the anatomy? And they start saying, I think it's coming from here and I think it's ending up here, which means they can then start to show the connections. Off to the left are the causes, off to the right are the effects, and beyond this map will be the consequences if we don't solve them. I've grabbed a couple of these. Too many silos, not enough skills, not enough collaboration, not enough resources. Do you think that they might be related in any way? Do you think they might be connected somehow? Let's take two. Let's say we don't have skills, we don't have resources. Do you think that one of these is causing the other? Which way do you think it goes? Do you think that we don't have enough resources and therefore we don't have enough skills? Or do you think we don't have enough skills, therefore we don't have enough resources? Do you think that there's a logical order to these two? Is it chicken and egg, really? Is it possible that this is a loop? Would you agree it's a loop? If it's a loop, does it matter which one we solve? No. If it's a loop, I just need to find the weakest thing. I just need to find the thing that I can influence, right? Let's try another one. Collaboration and silos. Do you have a sense of what's causing what? Not everything is a loop. Do you think that too many silos might be making it harder to collaborate? Okay, so if I put this on your left and put this on your right and drew an arrow and said, too many silos are producing not enough collaboration, would that be a fair argument to make? Yes. See what I'm doing? So you've already found a loop, and actually now you've found a connection, cause and effect. Do you think maybe there could be a relationship between skills, collaboration, and silos? Is it possible that too many silos produces not enough collaboration, which means we don't have access to skills that perhaps we could be sharing? Am I crazy, or is this starting to make some sense? If you could only fix one thing, what would it be? It'd be over this side, wouldn't it? This is why we do the left to right. Because if you keep doing that way, what's on the far right-hand side of the map is your current situation. What's on the left-hand side of the map is how you got there. Which means I can read a map without knowing a single word of what any of it means. And I'm going to prove that to you in a second. In fact, I'm going to show you how you can do it. If you were to look at this with a bunch of smart people, do you think you could start to see some connections? Would you say, I think this might be causing that, this could be a part of this? And so what we do is we get people to start drawing these little sort of weather maps. And once they start, populating it like this, I can start to see there are some things in here that are worth more than other things. There's not enough time and there's too many projects because there's not enough time because there's too many projects. This is what we call the hamster wheel. We haven't got time to be smart because we're flat out doing it the dumb way. Any of that sound familiar? I've been at this for too long. Just by saying causes will precede effects, we can start to build really sophisticated maps of problems that people have been struggling with for decades. I've had people say, this is the first time I've actually seen this problem that I've been talking about for decades. I can't tell you what that does to my old man spirit. It's beautiful, yeah? So I want to show you how to read one of these maps. So we're going to do a quick quiz, right? Here's a really basic map. A cause B, cause C, cause D. If you could only affect one thing in this problem, and this is not a trick question, it's the obvious answer, which would you target? Well done. Okay, let's see if I can trick you. This is a chain. And you know instinctively you want to get to the earliest possible cause. But let's suppose you can't do that because of some regulatory thing. You can't have A. What's your next choice? You guys get it. Fantastic. Okay, what about now? D. Excellent. What about now? Very good. Okay, let's make it a bit more interesting. What about now? Does it matter? No. You just target where it's weakest. I heard a mum say in a playground the other day, I don't care who started it, Jeremy, who's going to finish it? I thought, send that woman to Geneva. She gets how it works. Okay, how about this? E. This is what we call a ripple for obvious reasons. It's like the triple word score in problem solving. You find one of those, it'll kill half the problem, yeah? But it has an evil twin. It has what's called the cat's claw. Have you ever tried to get a cat off a jumper? Unless you remove all the claws, you haven't removed the cat. So guess what? E will be the last thing that you fix. In fact, this will be the last problem that you solve because you're just going to have to get so many other things working for you. So now that you've seen an executive summary, this is how we solve problems, yeah? So you can see that a ripple, you do that first. Cat's claw, you do it last, if at all. And then chains and loops, you just do as the mood takes you. Still with me? Okay, let's put those brains to the test. Here is a fairly typical map. What would be some logical targets? V? Who said V? If I could somehow grab V and pull it off the map, what would dry up as a result? That's C gets rid of that, and then P is all that's left. So now that we think we've found our target, and by the way, this is probably something you've been talking about for ages, now we need to get to problem solving, which is when we start asking the question, what would we change? I want to give you my 7 favourite solutions. The first one is to do the exact opposite of what you ordinarily do. We call this the Costanza manoeuvre. So, we've always done it this way, but it's never worked. Let's do the opposite. A friend of mine who he works with people who have a lot of road rage, and he said, next time someone gets up and screams at you, when did you learn to drive? You just go, I love that colour on you. And it breaks the cycle. Like, why are we fighting fire with fire? You fight fire with water. You just do the opposite thing. So is there anything on that map that if you did the opposite, maybe there's a solution there? And maybe it would be quick and easy, yeah? What about this? Now, this one's right on the edge of ethical, so I do warn you, you may be triggered by this one. This is the Ben Rath Senior Citizen Centre in Dusseldorf. It's one of those high security places with people with dementia and Alzheimer's. What's the primary concern, in fact, the only concern of this institution? Escape. No one wants to be there, and why would they be? People are getting out. So what's their number one cost? Security and passwords and cameras and all that sort of stuff. And it still doesn't work because these people are clever. They'll find a way. And one guy said, hang on, what if we just let them out? What if we just let them out, but we knew where they were going? So they rang the local bus company and said, we would like a bus stop, but not a bus. You can see where this is going, can't you? So guess what happens when someone breaks out? They go to the bus stop. How long for? They don't know. But what's incredible, it has reduced their insurance, it's reduced their risk profile, and guess what? Everyone now is calm. Because if you can't find, Mrs. Bookman, you know where she is, and they'll go, the nurses will sit her on the park bench and say, I don't know what's happening to that bloody bus. Well, let's go and have a cup of tea. Everyone is now calm. They're now leaving out bowls of change for the residents to keep in their pockets. So they've just changed the thing, they've moved it around. And I learnt this from the possum man. The possum man told me that the possum has no interest in my roof. The possum's just trying to get to that fruit tree. If I could solve the possum's problem, I've solved my problem. Do you see how that's very martial arts? You're taking that energy and you're sending it somewhere else. Could you soften the blow? I'm sure some of you understand why you have a QWERTY keyboard on your 21st century device. This particular configuration was invented in 1861 to slow typists down, because typists were faster than typewriters. And they said, we can't make the machines go faster, can we make the typists go slower? This is a good example of what we call a cushion. I can't solve the problem, but I could make it a little easier, yeah? Do you know why there are mirrors around lifts in tall buildings? It's because people would complain about how long the lifts take. And if you say to the engineer, people are complaining that the lifts take too long, the engineer's answer is try to make the lifts faster, which you can only do so much. But to the building manager heard, people are complaining. That's the problem I want to solve. I can't make the lifts go faster, but I can give people something else to think about. So what happens when you're waiting for the lift and you're just checking it out, all of a sudden we become distracted and diverted and the complaints went right down. Very elegant. Maybe you want to start again. Maybe you want to blow it up and start again. Maybe it's so fundamentally broken we should start again. Sometimes square one is the only numbered square in the game. Could you just go with it? This is Ingvar Kamprad. He was the guy who invented IKEA. And the Scandinavian furniture industry tried to destroy him. They said, we're not going to manufacture your product, we're not going to store it, and we're not going to transport it. And Ingvar's thinking, who will build my furniture? And he thought, you will build my furniture. And it was Rolling Stone magazine, he said it would never have occurred to him to come up with that idea if he hadn't had the problem. Yeah? It's an incredible thing. If you think about your grandparents, were they resourceful people? Is that because they had a lot of resources? No, it's the exact opposite. Now think about your grandkids. Resourceful? Resourced, not resourceful. So sometimes not having an answer is the best way to find a lateral solution. And sometimes what we think is a problem is in fact actually a discovery. Do you know champagne was a mistake? Dom Benedictine was a blind Benedict monk who was hired by the local abbey to get bubbles out of white wine, a job he was really bad at. And it got so bad, at one point the abbot says, actually, Dom, this is pretty nice, keep going. And the history of innovation, in fact, the history of science is stuff that we weren't looking for, that we thought was a problem, and then we thought, actually, this is better. We weren't looking for radio astronomy, we weren't looking for penicillin, we weren't even looking for America. We were just trying to get a shortcut to India. So tell your friends, America was a mistake. Just make sure everybody knows. And there are going to be parts of this where you will have no control. And I think give up is a totally rational strategy. Just don't do it first. But there will be things that you cannot fix. Don't waste any time with those. Solve the problems that you can solve. You know, we say in Zen, we don't know who discovered water, but it wasn't a fish. If you're inside the problem, it's hard for you to see a way out. That's what this does. It's getting you to step out of it and see it, to get it out from behind your eyes and put it in front where you can actually examine it. So, now that we know that, and we know this, and you've already identified 3 very juicy targets, which strategy would you apply? I'm not even asking for ideas yet. I just want strategies. So, You found your targets and you found your strategies. Now, we just get creative. Now that we've identified what we think the real problem is, what if we changed something? What if we did something different? This is the creative brain that we need. We now start asking why not and what if. So if there's people at the table who are telling us why it can't be done, they need to shut up, because this is not their time. And that's the other thing. When we give people, say, brainstorming time, we'll say, we'll give you 5 minutes, I'm going to want 50 or 60 ideas. Yeah. Clearly they're not going to be thought out, because I'm not interested in that. I want to make sure they've thought of everything. But if I said, just think for 5 minutes, they'd cook one idea that might actually die at the next stage. Which ideas would work best? And this is a tool that we've been using now all around the country for God knows how long. We love this tool. The vertical axis, how good a solution is it? The horizontal axis is, how difficult would it be? Politically, legally, ethically, all that kind of good stuff. Think about the best project you ever did. It was the highest value. It was the least effort. You need more projects like those. Would you agree? Now think about the hardest thing that you've ever done. And it was great, and it was important, and it was wonderful, but my God, it almost killed us. That's in the top right-hand corner. Have you ever worked on any projects where you think it was easy, but it didn't deliver for us? We could do it quickly, we knew how to do it, but who the hell cares? Do you see how you could calibrate this tool to your experience? And by the way, that's the worst project you ever worked on. One of those per career is all you're allowed. A is the highest possible value for the least possible effort. It's what we used to call low-hanging fruit. B is, well, it's still a great idea, but it's not that straightforward. And C is, my God, it's a brilliant idea, but I have no idea when we get it done. Who's going to do what? Who's going to take all this and turn it into something? In any organisation, in fact, in any family unit, there are some people who turn problems into ideas. If you say, I don't know what to do about this, they will instantly convert the problem into an idea. Do you know anybody like that? They'll say Pilates, WD-40, chicken soup, duct tape, federal government. They'll have some ideas because that's the way their brain works. Do you also have brains that can take ideas and turn them into plans? You get a whole bunch of feral stuff off the sticky notes and the pictures paper, and they'll put it into a Gantt chart, they'll put it into a schedule, they'll put it into a spreadsheet. What about this mind? You show them a plan, they'll find the risks. Surely you've got these ones. It's the top third of any org chart, you can't miss them. You show them anything, and they'll show you all the things you haven't thought of. People who just want to get on with it, they want to crack on. Tell me what to do, tell me the risks, give me a budget, get out of my way. This is the model that we use: imagine, develop, evaluate, act. And we think this is better than Myers-Briggs and Herman Brain, all that other kind of stuff, because this isn't about types of people. It's about gears in the thinking. It's about different cultures and how they work together. And here's the thing, if we ask them, what do they want? The answers, no matter who we ask, are completely consistent. There are people who want to turn problems into ideas, and guess what they want? Some freedom, some space, some time. Just let me dream. Just let me imagine. Do you work with people who want that? I bet you do. And people who turn ideas into plans, guess what they want? They want parameters. You know this idea about thinking outside the box? This brain says, I'm sorry, I need the box. Tell me what it has to fit into. How long does it take? When I was 1, the President of the United States said the weirdest thing that anyone in that job has said until, recently. He gets up in front of, thank you, he gets up in front of 500 engineers and says, we should go to the moon. I want to be there by 1970. That's as far as I've thought this thing out. I'm off for drinks with Marilyn. Good luck, everyone. Man, moon, 1970, go. That's what the developing mind wants. It wants the box that things have to fit into. You have those people. You've got them already. When we ask the people who want to find the issues, the risks, they want information, they want data, they want choices, they don't want vibe. Is that making any sense? Do you know what happens if we skip that step? Every episode of Utopia you've ever seen or ever lived. You think we had a rush of blood to the head, we did this thing, oh my God, it's a terrible idea, let's have our next, fever dream and we'll do the next thing. It's got to go through a process. And the funny thing is, these folks over here, the people who want the detail, we demonize them as party poopers. Oh, they're just raining on our parade. They're just devil's advocates. No. They're the lifeguards. They're saying, swim between the flags. I'll protect you, but don't go outside this area. And what local government could do anything without people who want resources and deadlines and some trust? Is this ringing any bells for you? So when we ask who's going to do what, this is who's going to do what. And I can't believe that Lisa and I have made a living out of this, but you sit down and look at any group and ask them, what kind of people do we have? Because these aren't separate things. It's a spectrum, and we're all on it. And you can see, I like this part, you like that part. This is how we start to build partnerships, because great minds do not think alike. This is where you need the psychodiversity. This is where you need people who think differently. The hardest groups we work with are monocultures, because they've got one idea. Put me in a room full of people who are arguing bitterly about something, that we can work with, because it's that friction that causes sparks that we need. This is how we organise people. Let's get them together in meetings. Let's work out, okay, we're going to start with people who want challenge and freedom and space and time. They'll start the conversation, and then they'll start to hand over with people who want the parameters. What was the problem we're trying to solve? What's the goal? Where do we go from here? Then we're going to get it to here. Now we've got facts and plans and detail, we can put it through Shark Tank. And if it survives that process, we give it to people who just want to get on with it. And the funny thing is, when we think about how we organise resources and time, this is the model that we've learned to think about. Guess what? Ideas are cheap and they're quick. You get some smart people in a room and throw the right problem at them, you'll have more ideas than you'll know what to do with within minutes. What about development? Is that quick? No, that takes time. So we need to compress the brainstorming time to, 5% maybe of time and resources. That's where you keep the clock ticking. Then develop a lot more time, give them more time to develop the plan. If the plan's been well thought out, guess what? Evaluation is quick. Decision making becomes really easy because all the choices have been made clear. And if you can keep that quick, then you have time for action. You've got plenty of time to get stuff done. You have these remarkable brains. This is the thing I've learnt. Every psychological disorder is its own job description. The things that makes people difficult and impossible, that's their genius. If you learn how to harness that, then you can achieve anything.